have talked about how they wish they had had this when they were applying, right, to colleges and things like that to get an HW alumni perspective of what it's like. So that's why we do those things. And we're going to have some fun. And I've already started the recording, Hannah. So maybe I should start this panel. Welcome, everybody, to our latest version of HW Alumni At, where we highlight some of the more popular colleges and universities that HW students like to apply to and like to attend. Today, we are at Yale. We have Eric Yoon, class of 23, joining us. Hannah Han, class of 21, joining us. They're going to give us their insights, their perspective, their experience when it comes to Yale, and also be able to answer any questions. I see Aparna's on. I see Jeff's on. Jeff emailed me this morning what's going on. Aparna's a regular, so we may have questions from parents and from students who come on, but mainly most of the students watch this via recording. Hannah and Eric are both on the platform and they both have LinkedIn as well, so you'll be able to reach out to them. Current students, if you want to reach out to Hannah and Eric, reach out to me and I'll connect you with them because their contact info won't be readily available for regular students, only fellow HW alumni. With that being said, because I've already talked too much, I'm gonna have Eric and Hannah introduce themselves, and then I have a question for them both that is actually not on the prepared question. So I hope you all are ready. Um, whoever wants to go first, you want to take, 30, 60 seconds, 90 seconds. I think we had one panelist go 3 minutes introducing themselves, introducing yourself.
Okay, I'll start. Hi everyone, I'm Eric, class of 23. I got into Yale regular decision. I'm a computer science major. I also love doing music. I am trying to make my own music. I've taken a few music classes at Yale. I was in jazz singers at Harvard Westlake, robotics club at Harvard Westlake. So I'm very involved in both STEM and also kind of the arts.
Hi everyone, I'm Hannah. I'm Harvard Wesley class of 2021, and so that makes me a senior at Yale now, my fourth year. I, like Eric, am resting somewhere in the intersection of STEM and the arts. I'm double majoring here at Yale in molecular, cellular, and developmental biology, and this really interdisciplinary broad major called the humanities, where I'm concentrating in creative writing and feminist literature. I'm on the pre-med track and always finding ways through science journalism and narrative medicine to combine science and writing. At Harvard Westlake, I was also like deeply involved in the art scene. I was one of the co-editors in chief of the Harvard Westlake Chronicle. I'm also was a section leader in madrigals and in chamber singers, so also involved in the singing world. And at Yale, I'm most deeply involved in the Yale Scientific magazine. So I'm the editor-in-chief of that one. And we do a lot of science journalism stuff there. Also involved in like spoken word poetry and lots of pre-med research type things. So very happy to answer questions about that.
Awesome. I love the intersection of STEM and arts. As I talk with many students, that's a thing that it's definitely like a trend that's growing now. So I'm happy we're able to encompass that. Now, my surprise question for the two of you. Ooh, I like this. You guys are both Yale students. It's 6:19, 6:20 Eastern Standard Time. I know you're busy. I know you have stuff to do. Why'd you do this today? Why'd you agree to be here?
I can go ahead first then. Yeah, so why did I agree to be here? Well, first of all, I just want to give back because I very much remember being an 11th and 12th grader. It was during the COVID pandemic. And I was constantly on Zoom, listening to every single like school session, all of the representatives talking. And it was starting to get very ambiguous and just difficult to like differentiate all the schools over Zoom. And I think I actually sat in as a student on one of the Yale alumni panels, and that was enormously helpful. And I'm kind of friends with some of the people who talked there. And so They were some of the reasons why I honestly say this from my heart, like some of the Harvard Westlake alumni who went to Yale were the reason I chose Yale, just because they were people who I saw myself in and who I'd admire deeply when I was an underclassman at the upper school. So
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about why I'm here. So when I was a junior, senior in high school, I really had I thought I knew a lot about the colleges I was applying to, but it turns out I really had a limited view of at least what Yale was like. And the thing that really got me excited about Yale and got me to apply and got me to accept my offer was talking to Yalees and talking to students who both went to Harvard Westlake, both who I just met on the campus while I was visiting. And meeting these Yale students really gave me the authentic experience of like what it would be like to be a student here. So I want to give that same experience to the Harvard Westlake students that are listening right now. And I want to give you a sense of what my experience at Yale is, so you can get a sense of what your experience at Yale might be.
Excellent. My heart is swelled with the answers you two just gave. It's definitely about paying it forward and giving back and giving a perspective that I think is missing. You haven't been too far removed from this process that many students and parents are going through now. So I think you're the ones who are best to discuss it. Let's get into it. All right. So Eric, you mentioned that you did not apply early, which is interesting to me as Yale is one of the 10 schools that 80% of Harvard Westlake students apply early to. Hannah, I'm not sure whether you applied early or you applied regular decision, but my question is about kind of sort of what you knew going in, right?
Mhm.
Your major, your college, the school that you're in at Yale. Did you know that that's what you were going to choose when you got to Yale? Did you choose Yale because you already knew it? Or did you get to Yale, choose your school or major, um, and then went about it that way? Like, how did you know Yale was the right choice for what you wanted to study and what it is that you wanted to do?
Yeah, I can start. So, I actually applied to Yale very late in the process. I mean, I got my application into the regular decision round, but I finished my Yale essays like maybe a week before the Yale application was due. And this was because I was not particularly excited about Yale when I just read their website, went to the talks. I was very set on, as a computer science major, I was very set on a pre-professional school. I was very influenced by like a lot of the like scary news articles saying like you won't get a job unless you go to the top school for computer science in America. And I'll be transparent. I did get into UC Berkeley, which is one of the better schools for computer science, and it was a tough decision process because, of course, I was balancing like should I do this to get a job? Should I go for the undergraduate experience? And um, what really helped me choose was going to Bulldog Days which is Yale's admit event. So I was not committed to Yale from the very start. In fact, Yale had to, it was really learning more about Yale and going to all these events and going to all these talks that really swayed me to choose the school because I really thought the undergraduate experience and the day-to-day life would be much better than if I had chosen one of these like more pre-professional schools. And I wholeheartedly agree with that after doing a whole year at Yale.
yeah, I have a totally opposing perspective. So as you know, I was really invested in arts, creative writing and journalism, back at Harvard Westlake, and I knew without a doubt that I wanted to go to school that had an emphasis on the arts and where I knew that students would have an investment in like pursuing things. And this is nothing against you, Eric. I have so many friends in CS and finance and that kind of thing. But I wanted to go to a school where it was more focused on like where it was the kind of last safe academic haven before you were like released out into the the professional world. Like I did not want to go to a pre-professional school because I wanted to really like pursue what I was interested in and have that effort sort of in honing my skills at Yale. So for me, I actually took Latin at Harvard Westlake for 6 years, and I came into Yale thinking I would do comparative literature with a concentration in Latin. I also was sure that I was pre-med, so I was taking pre-med requirements while doing comp lit requirements, and then I took a very meandering route eventually to humanities and MCDB, which is the bio major. But like all in all, the point is that Yale was actually my first choice school, and I'd fallen in love with it. It's a little embarrassing, like back in ninth grade or 10th grade. And I applied there early action and was fortunate enough to get in. So I was a huge like proponent of just like the interdisciplinary spin on everything at Yale and just like the really vibrant art scene here. And I'm happy to speak more about that. And but that was my experience.
I
Well,
agree with everything. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead, Eric.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I agree with everything Hannah said about the Yale experience. I mean, that's I guess the difference is I learned this about Yale later in the process, and that is what made me fall in love with the school and choose it ultimately. Yeah.
It's interesting. I would think, with the alumni, the prestigious alumni and kind of sort of reputation that Yale has, I find it interesting that both of you described it as not a pre-professional school. Why did both of you, why was the why was the academic part of Yale more alluring to you than if I go to school here, I'm guaranteed a job on Wall Street that a lot of people choose. Why was the former more important to you than the latter? Or why did you find the former more appealing to you at Yale than the latter?
For me, to be totally honest, like I really loved learning. At Harvard Westlake, I really enjoyed my English classes. I loved Latin, but AP Chemistry was also my favorite. And so I really liked the kind of like broad interdisciplinary nature of like high school, of being able to take a bunch of classes and different things. And that was something I did not want to give up in college. I mean, granted, I also knew I was going to be pre-med going in. And so there's a little more flexibility in the sense that like there's a somewhat linear path. You take classes, you do volunteer hours, you do research. And I mean, you're not guaranteed to get in medical school, but there if you fulfill a certain, prerequisites, hopefully you will end up going on that path. So I had a little bit more flexibility and where I wasn't worried about getting a job right coming out of college. Um, but yeah, I mean, all it came down to was the fact that I really did enjoy my academic passions. At Harvard Westlake, I did an independent study my senior year on it was a short story collection bridging classical mythology and Asian American myths and kind of interrogating the model minority myth and beauty standards. Um, so that was like a project that feels very Yale coded in the sense of like, how do I combine different literary canons? And that was work I didn't want to give up in college and in fact wanted to continue doing. So yeah, for me, the academic portions were really, really important.
For me, I really agree with the interdisciplinary part. I've always loved learning about a bunch of different fields, not just computer science. For example, I took a linguistic directed study at Harvard Westlakes, and I've taken a linguistics class at Yale. I've taken electrical engineering class at Yale, mechanical engineering, music. I'm gonna take an art class next semester. And the great thing about Yale, I think its number one advantage is you don't have to know anything about these subjects to take a class in them. They don't limit you to your major. You can sign up for any class within the whole Yale College undergraduate department. Um, and there's barely any prerequisites at Yale, and even if there is a prerequisite, you do not have to obey it. So
Wow.
that is one thing I love telling people about Yale because you really, really get the chance to explore. And I guess just the philosophy of why I wanted that. I mean, I know I'm gonna be working for basically the rest of my life in computer science. So I wanted the, I mean, to put it pessimistically at least, but
Yeah, no, that's
I wanted the opportunity to really explore and like satiate my academic cravings, I guess you could say, and get to explore all these fun fields that I'm probably not like I'm not gonna work professionally in. And just being able to explore a lot like that, like I would never get to take linguistics after college. So just being able to take advantage of the college experience and do these things while I'm in college was really important to me.
I think that's a great view of college that you both have. Because take it from this very young and very spry 43-year-old man. You will be working after college. That's what it'll be. And then especially if you do grad school, you'll be working. So you have plenty. The time is now to experiment, explore, travel, do all of those things. Now I want to move to Yale, and this is one of my favorite questions, not only because diversity is important to me, but because I love to see it from you guys' perspective. As Harvard Westlake student, Harvard Westlake is extremely diverse. Like LA is diverse. Um, you all in the East Coast. I was born and raised in the East Coast. My first 40 years were there before I came to Harvard Westlake almost 3 years ago. It's a different type of environment. It's a different type of diversity. It's more old school, black, white, everybody else. Whereas California, it's everybody else. And then like black, white, like traditional historical stuff. What has diversity been like in your classes on Yale's campus? And then tangentially related, can you talk to us a little bit about New Haven and your thoughts about the town?
I can start. Oh, you go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I think Yale, like just in the sense of the core sense of the word diversity, I think Yale is very diverse. Of course, there's demographics diversity, so racial diversity, gender diversity, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a lot of other types of diversity at Yale too. For example, there's a lot of diversity in the ways of thinking, and I'm not just talking about like political opinion or whatever. I'm talking about like philosophical beliefs, like ways of thinking about the world. You might think about the world in a more analytical sense or in a more like romantic slash poetic sense, right? And I've just been able to learn so much from my peers. And I think the number one, I mean, diversity is great in and of itself, but being able to interact with that diversity in your daily life is what makes Yale different because I don't know if you know this, but for all the first years at Yale are separated into 14 residential colleges, kind of like Hogwarts houses, and you're put in with like 3 to 6 different random assigned roommates, and that makes you mix with people who you might not seek out otherwise in your life. So I mean, I got partnered with I got roomed with a student doing a intensive philosophy course at Yale. I got partnered with an English major, someone from El Salvador. So just getting all these different perspectives in ways of thinking, nationality, et cetera, and being forced to interact with them and challenge my viewpoints was really helpful. And I decided to room with all 5 of my roommates the next year, sophomore year. So I loved these connections I formed with them.
That's amazing. And I totally relate. Actually, well, I'm a senior now, and I roomed with what was it? There were 5 of us. So there were 4 other girls in my first year, and it was a random assortment. And then I stayed with oh no, actually, sorry. I roomed with 3. Gosh, okay, you know what? I'm getting so tangled. The point is, I roomed with 2 of those people first year, and then one joined us, and then we've been rooming together in a quad every single year since then, and they are my best friends on campus, hands down, and also like extremely diverse in their academic interests. One is chemistry and applied math with interest in music. One is ecology, evolutionary biology, and humanities. One is pure math with interest in education and art. And then of course, like I'm interested in like disparate fields as well. So there's that like diversity in like academic interests for sure. The other thing I will say is that I've have a lot of friends who come from across the country. So my close friends come from like Tulsa, Oklahoma. Like I've met people from like Arkansas, like more rural parts of the United States. It was kind of funny because when we arrived first year in New Haven, for me, New Haven is a smaller town. Like we came from Los Angeles, and that is like one of the biggest cities in the US. But I met some people who came from, like Iowa, and then they arrived and they're like, this is the biggest city I've ever been in. This is incredible. This is so scary. And I was like, wow, like I don't know, you really get to meet people who come from such diverse backgrounds across the US and also internationally. I've met people born in like China and Korea, in Colombia, and I've become friends with them and heard about like what it's like to grow up there. Um, and so it's a really unique experience to just meet people from all walks of life, and with, like Eric said, all different academic and philosophical interests. Yeah.
That was awesome. A few quick thoughts on New Haven, food, culture, scene, stuff like that. What are your initial impressions, Eric? Your very formed impressions, Hannah, as you've been there 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, New Haven, it's not like there are people out there who will like try to scare you off of New Haven. They're like, "Oh, so terrible, it's so dangerous." I mean, it's I'm not in love with New Haven. Like I wish there was more. I love LA because there's so many like different types of food from all different cultures. You don't really get that too much in New Haven. New Haven does feel a little small because I think it's because of like the kind of lack of a subway system and um you sometimes I feel like I can't really get out of the city or I have to get out of the city to go places. Um I mean but Yale's campus has a lot to offer, and even just staying on campus, you have a lot of stuff to do. So, of course, there's like a 3 hour trip to New York if you ever want to take that. Yeah, I have mixed feelings about New Haven, but I wouldn't let the people scare you off of it.
I actually enjoy New Haven a lot, and maybe this is from someone who wasn't necessarily super attracted to like a huge New York vibe. Like I did not want to be tossed into like a metropolitan like city of concrete. On the other hand, I definitely did not want to be in the middle of nowhere in the woods. And New Haven was kind of like a nice balance of the two. I think yeah, New York and Boston are easily accessible. Like you can take like the Amtrak and there are all these different train systems to like go up and down the Northeast. So I don't feel super locked in, like landlocked per se. I do think the thing is that I've actually stayed in New Haven every single summer for 3 summers straight and all 4 years now. So I'm very, very used to the city. And I think there are also there are gem spots. Like there are great like date night places, like late night hangout spots, like karaoke, bars, like cool restaurants. There's also quite a vibrant art scene, unsurprisingly, because Yale is known for its art. So there's like the Yale Repertory Theater, which we've watched fabulous shows. Like Broadway comes through here sometimes. So I wouldn't discredit New Haven. I mean, granted, it is a smaller city, but it is one with a burgeoning nightlife. And though Yale is definitely like a huge portion of it, like Yale is a large campus and it feels like it does dominate the city to a certain extent.
Good. Okay. Now we get into our parents' favorite portion. So a lot of you take out your pencils and pens or get ready to dictate. It's the nuts and bolts. So Eric, Hannah, I want you to think back to the days of yore, the ancient days. We're talking about the summer after your sophomore year of high school and the summer after your junior year of high school. What was it, Hannah? I know you were probably impacted. No, you may. I don't think you were impacted by COVID at that point.
I was.
What you were? Salt.
Yeah.
Sorry. What were the things that you all did during those summers? Internships, programs, jobs, anything along those lines?
I can speak to that first.
Mhm.
So, like I'd mentioned, creative writing was a huge part of my life, and it still is. Um, I did journalism through Harvard Westlake and did sing through Harvard Westlake, but writing was something I did by myself, like independently. So in the summer after my sophomore year, I applied to various creative writing fellowships and summer programs. I was fortunately accepted to that Iowa Young Writers Program, which is like Iowa Writers Workshop, like
Fancy.
preeminent, yeah, creative writing institution. So I went to Iowa for a couple of weeks to like and to do their fiction program with Jamel Brinkley, who's an amazing novelist. I also did the Adroit mentorship program. That's another creative writing program that's where you get paired with a professional writer. I still follow her on Instagram. She just came out with her novel. I could talk about her endlessly, but she's this wonderful incoming writer that I worked with, and she helped me hone my craft as well. So sophomore year was basically those two things were like most of what I was doing. My junior year, I was impacted by COVID. And that's like the important summer, right? It's the summer after 11th grade. So what I did there is a lot of people were doing a lot of online tutoring, and that's something I did as well. Along with my co-editor chief of Chronicle at the time, we started this like LA-based writing mentorship program where we paired like Harvard Westlake students and other like LA writers with a student, like elementary students in the LAUSD system, and we taught them like journalism and creative writing. Other things, I took a Berkeley creative writing class in Asian American creative writing class. I don't know. I learned how to play guitar. Like it was just like the very COVID-esque things. I baked a lot. It was I don't know. Eric probably had a more dynamic junior summer that he can speak to.
Sounds pretty dynamic though.
Let's see, sophomore. Okay, so if my math's not off, the summer after sophomore year was 2021 for me, I think, if that's correct.
Sounds right,
Okay,
because you
yeah, yeah,
graduated
yeah.
in 2023. That sounds
Yes,
right.
yes, yes. Okay, so I was a research assistant at the U Chicago Spatial Center for Spatial Data Science. I was doing like software development for that. It was a paid position, which was really really cool to just get some extra money, and also of course experience. I met some great mentors at U Chicago. I met some great peers that I worked with. One of them was a freshman in college at the time, so I got to get a little know a little bit about what the college experience is like from her. Um, the summer after junior year, what I was doing another internship at a startup. And that was also really, really fun. Gave me a taste of what professional career in computer science might be like, and really confirmed that I do want to do computer science stuff for a living.
Good, excellent. I believe all Adroit, the Creative Writers Workshop, the U Chicago Lab, are all on HW Works resources as kind of sort of Harvard Westlake approved experiences, if you will. Take from that what you will. But I'm sure Hannah and Eric approved their experience, so that's why they're in there. Okay, how did you get in? Question number two. Right now, we're talking about the Common App. We're talking about your Yale statement. We're talking about your personal statement. So far, if you don't mind sharing, so far everybody's shared. So I guess that goes to the spirit of these calls and Harvard Westlake alum and how you want to help Harvard Westlake students. What'd you write about?
All right. So a little backstory on at least on Yale. I got a brochure before I wrote my comment up. I got a brochure in the mail from Yale, and the headline was it didn't say Yale, but it said Y ampersand LE. So Yale, like Yale and, right? And and I was like, what does this mean? So I read the brochure, and it was like basically the essence of Yale and is you are your major, but you are also something. You are your major and something. And I think my Common App, I wasn't intentionally doing this, but when I look back and when I actually read my admissions file, because you can do that apparently, um, they really like the embracing of the Yale and because I wrote my Common App about basically the headline sentence was I love computer science, I love doing coding, I love software development, but I also play the ukulele. And I went on a little rant about how I love music theory, how I love exploring music theory, applying computer science to music theory, and most people would have expected me to write something about my Common App about maybe computer science or robotics or something. But I think what really helped me was writing about one of my passions, music, and showing that I'm because my whole activity list was all computer science stuff. So showing that other side of me, that and side of me, I think that's what helped get me into Yale.
Good. Hannah?
Yeah. So for me, writing the Common App was a really emotional experience. So I unlike Eric, my entire like activities list was just like journalism, creative writing, education, tutoring, journalism again. So I mean I wrote about it because that's what I did, but I wrote about my relationship with my mom, and how she nurtured my love of reading when I was really, really young, and how that love of reading ultimately opened up doors like for imagination, for writing, for me. And I sort of touched upon my interest in classics. I read like Delaire's Book of Greek Myths back in like elementary school, and that opened up the ancient world for me. And so I kind of touched on classics and why I did Latin at Harvard Westlake in that essay. Um, but what I ultimately talked about was in 10th grade in English class, I had Mr. Weber, and he assigned a chapter of the Joy Luck Club for us to read. And it was honestly the most transformative experience, one of the most transformative experiences that Harvard Westlake offered me. Because to be honest, like I hadn't realized that there were Asian American writers writing about their like personal
Yeah.
experiences and their histories. And when I wrote novels and stuff when I was little, like it was always in the lens of like white characters. Like I just embodied
Mhm.
white characters because I was just assumed what, you know, who the protagonist could be and should be. And so that really opened things up for me. And I started writing more about identity, about like delving into my family's myths and our immigration story. So I wrote about that in relation to my mom as well. And ultimately, the big takeaway was just like the power of storytelling and what it can do to bridge gaps within families, but also like, I don't know, it just brought me into myself, like made me believe in magic, that kind of thing.
Time's a monster. I don't remember when the book dropped, but I remember when the movie dropped because at school, like we were focused. So it was the night way before you guys' times. The early 90s was like a focus on like diversity and different experiences. I just remember being such a big deal when the movie dropped. I think it was like 93 when the movie dropped. And it was like a, majority Asian cast and like the story. It would probably be a field day today, but we weren't in like an internet generation then. Like there weren't like think pieces of galore about it. I just remember how it was such a big deal. Okay, we're at 3:45. We got our last question. We've got kind of a not a full house, but we got some people in here. So I'm imagining Eric, you and Hannah are going to have some questions to field. So we want to give at least 10 minutes for those. And then if we have time, I'd love for the two of you to leave a closing statement for our current seniors. As I'm sure you remember, I'm walking around here. I'm seeing a lot of long, sullen, tired faces of our seniors who just wrapped up one deadline, I think November 1st, and some are working towards another one December 1st. So we'll try to get that in if we can. Last question. HW alumni. Hannah, you'll be a Yale alum in a few months also. How did HW prepare you for Yale? And how do you think Yale is doing preparing you for life after it?
Yeah. I guess I can go first unless you wanted to. Okay. So for Harvard Westlake provided a really great academic basis for Yale. Like I will say that straight out. I think that I was very prepared to take on classes in my first semester, first year. I actually think I underestimated my abilities and took like an easier workload my first year, and I wish that I had challenged myself more. Um, I think one of the amazing things that Harvard Westlake offered, again, AP chemistry was one of my favorites, and then I took organic chemistry at Yale, and the basis that I built, like the intuition for like how electrons move, that kind of thing was really helpful. Not that's very niche, but the other thing that Harvard Westlake really drilled in was close reading and English classes. You learn how to write critical analysis, and that is like extremely important if you choose to take more literary classes at Yale. And I have found that those kind of that ability to like really analyze a text like word by word has really helped like my own development. This applies to medicine too, right? Like looking at different like coming up with diagnoses, looking at a constellation of different symptoms, like all of this close observation is quite important. And so I learned those like concrete skills. Time management was also a thing at HW for sure. Like when you're balancing that many extracurriculars on top of work, like that really helps you build out your schedule. And GCal is such a savior in college. Like I will say this. And then for Yale onwards, I do think that Yale has prepared me for I guess medical school life. I mean, I don't know yet because I'm not in medical school, but um, I think that it was, I mean, my academic classes have helped. I would say that my extracurriculars, like serving on like the Yale Scientific Magazine board, has been one of the most formative experiences because it gave me like leadership and communication skills, and also gave me access to an amazing alumni network. So for instance, and I don't want to take too much time here, but for Yale Scientific Magazine, I spoke to previous editors-in-chief. Some of them are like Harvard Med School. There's one who's now a physician at Stanford who came out with her debut novel. And so when you have like an access to a wider network like that, and you can like form real relationships with mentors who you want to be or you want to somehow embody in some way later down the line. And that has been like extremely helpful and really inspiring for me as a student.
I'm sorry, Hannah. You were able to talk with physicians who also have like the literary interest that you have. Am I mistaken? Is that what you said?
Yes. Yeah.
Excuse my language. That is effing incredible. What? Oh my gosh. Okay. I just, I'm a pen guy. I look down at Yale, but I guess you guys are okay. Eric, yeah, you're up. What do you think? HW, Yale, life after both?
Yeah, I mean, HW definitely prepared me for Yale. Yale is honestly easier than Harvard Westlake. That's my opinion, but just without the stress of without the stress of college applications, just being able to explore what you really love, it's just like a relief, and it's a lot of fun. But yes, Harvard Westlake definitely prepared me for Yale. I mean, obviously, like the subject matters, all the physics really helped, the AP, even linguistics really helped. But what Harvard Westlake helped with the most was being able to think in ways that were conducive to learning by yourself. So, for example, I have a lot of my classes are very interdisciplinary. I like, for example, I of course, my everything we did in my electrical engineering class related to what we're doing in computer science class, but even in unexpected ways, like in my electrical engineering class, we studied filters, but we are also doing audio filters in my music class, which is like this is just a crazy connection. So being able to make those connections between classes, I learned that at Harvard Westlake, and that really helped me at Yale. Of course, also learning how to manage my own time, learning how to really push myself whenever things got tough. Talking to professors, or I guess going to office hours was really something I needed to learn how to do. Talking to friends and studying with friends. So just these more abstract study skills were the ones that really helped me at Yale. And I guess the second part of your question, what Yale is going to help me with in my future life, I mean, from a philosophical life standpoint, I think it really taught me how to think critically and not just in the like logical reasoning sense, but to really appreciate the world and think about the world in a way that I can not only use other people's ideas, but create my own ideas and share them. Just that collaborative environment of like being able to bounce ideas off each other. I mean, one of the reasons I came to Yale was because someone at Bulldog Days told me that Yale's much more collaborative than Harvard. I was like, okay, I gotta go to
It
Yale.
is. Wow. Shots
No,
fired.
genuinely, I love the collaborative environment. Like there's curves in classes, but no one feels like you have to beat out the other people. Everyone is willing to share notes. We have discussion boards, and those are some of the most fun places to be on, even though they're online. I mean, yeah, just that way of collaborating is gonna help me so much in life.
I think that kind of sort of collaborative mentality is kind of sort of sweeping across a lot of Ivy plus type institutions. I heard the same thing at MIT. Harvard would say that they're collaborative, even though even though Eric, you had Yale, he's telling you they weren't. So yeah, like I that's pretty poignant, and I think that's a really good thing overall. Okay, we got about 7 minutes left. I want to open the floor for questions. Does anybody have any questions? I see Jackson, Jeff, and Aparna on the call. No? Perfect. Okay. So, Hannah, Eric, yeah, we have about 7 minutes left. So I guess this will be a closing statement. I kind of sort of hope. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to ask a question. My name is Preeti. I unmuted to
Preeti, I didn't see it. It just says iPhone on your thing. I didn't know that.
Does it? I'm sorry. That's my fault. First of all, thank you both for being so kind to take your time and share with us your experience at Yale. I'm so happy to hear it. I was just wondering on the computer science aspect, could you explain a little bit more about the degree, and are they incorporating a lot of AI technology as well? And how does
Mm.
that look? Thank you.
Yeah. So I know other undergraduate schools in the US have like a new machine learning major. We don't have a machine learning major. We have a computer science major, but I've been able to take some really awesome AI classes. For example, this year I'm taking a class called Neural Networks. It's technically under the the electrical engineering department, but we go really in depth into neural networks, all these new technologies for AI. We're learning about transformers, which is the T in ChatGPT. We're learning about basically we're also doing reading discussions. So we read papers, the seminal papers that come out from OpenAI, from Google, and we go in depth into those papers and read them and learn about the new technologies they're developing in these papers. And we write reading responses. I was planning on taking um, what's it called? Foundation Models, which is a higher level computer science course, which is about basically everything that was made in the last 5 years that powers ChatGPT, DALL-E, and there's a lot of really innovative classes that cover AI and will keep us updated on what's going on in AI and machine learning. So even though there's no machine learning degree, your computer science degree at Yale will include a lot of these AI and machine learning courses if you so choose to take them.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Jackson, Jeff, Aparna? Greedy tricked me with the iPhone label. I didn't know that was her. Okay. So we got about 4 minutes left, which gives 2 minutes. You don't have to use the entire 2 minutes apiece, maybe 90 seconds. Give us that insight, that wisdom for our current seniors, Hannah and Eric. Give them something to chew, take home in this process that you both successfully navigated.
Okay, I'll go first. Um, let's see. Definitely, I mean, I when it comes to the time to choose which school you want to go to, I made a giant spreadsheet, but ultimately I chose based on
All
what
of you
would
have a
be
giant
what
spreadsheet.
what would be the best experience for me. And I genuinely think that Yale delivers a fantastic undergraduate experience. You get to take all the classes you love. You get to meet amazing people. I'm sure that'll be great for networking in the future, but right now it just feels like I'm making tons of friends. I mean, the food's great here. Weather's not too bad. And really, in your application, show why you want to go to Yale and show your passions because they really want to see why you're passionate, not just about the school, but about the things you love. And that you can tell everyone at Yale is super passionate about what they do. Yeah, that's what I would say.
That's really good insight, Eric. Jen, I've been saying on every call, it really hasn't changed in 5 years, pretty much since that first 2020 pandemic hit. Generally, these schools in this Ivy Plus arena, it's your identity, how it's going to impact the community you plan on joining, i.e., where you're planning on going to school. And then you usually demonstrate that with some sort of experience outside of school that you had, normally internship, sophomore, junior year, normally junior year, because it's easier to write about because it's fresh in your memory when you're doing senior year. So that was really poignant and well said. Hannah, save our seniors.
Oh, okay. What do I even say? I'm not sure. Eric covered so much ground. For me, Yale, what makes Yale is the people, and I'm sure other people at other universities will say this, but this 100% holds true. Whenever I've been down, whenever I've been super stressed, there are a huge network of people I can reach out to, who I love dearly, who read my essays and help me proofread, who read my creative writing, tell me whether or not it sucks. Who helped me with when I briefly took a CS class, who helped me through CS PSETs. As Eric mentioned, it is ultimately a really kind and collaborative community, and that has definitely rung true. Um, I I mean, I did fall in love with Yale. Like the campus is absolutely gorgeous. The Gothic Harvard or Harry Potter-esque vibe was like drew me in the moment I entered. And I guess another thing that I really love about this campus is just the vast number of opportunities. Specifically, I'm thinking about the Beinecke Rare Manuscript Library. If you ever have the chance to come to Yale, it's a place where they have some Egyptian papyri, some like of Mozart's original compositions, original like like things like from the Bible. You can literally handle them. Like this is a place where you really get to engage with histories and art in an amazing and really enriching way, and combine those interests as I'm trying to do in my thesis. And overall, I would say that when writing your essays, the more personal you can get, the better. The more you can talk about interdisciplinary interests, the better, as Eric also covered. And I mean, do your research. I would also recommend looking at this comes from someone who did Chronicle, but recommend looking at some of the journalism that the school newspapers output. Like I looked at the Yale Daily News before coming here to see what campus life is like, what students are interested in. There's a lot of activism going on. People write personal essays about their experience, and so that provides you insight. And I would say to do that for other schools as well. But yeah, I'm very happy to be here, and it's an extraordinary place.
Eric, Hannah, it's 4 o'clock. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for your expertise. Thank you for your energy. We appreciate it. This discussion should be up before midnight tonight in the resources section on the platform. Hannah and Eric are available via the platform. They're also on LinkedIn. Otherwise, it's 7 o'clock Eastern. You guys should have dinner or something like that. It's coming up upon that time. Take care. And again, I cannot thank you enough from the school, from the student body, how helpful this has been. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Everyone have a wonderful evening.
You too. Bye, everyone.
Bye.